Uneducated Economist here. So in this video, we are going to be talking about the secrets to economic control, because this is something that I find very interesting as I dive deeper and deeper into the research of the economy, going all the way back into hundreds of years of economic research done by people like Cantillon, who wrote an essay on economic research, all the way down to the recent monetary policy speeches given by the Federal Reserve. One of the things that I have found through all this research is that most people do not believe that they have any control over the economy. And this is something that I find very, very dangerous of a belief system, especially when it comes to believing that you can change the economic outcome of some other economic environment other than your own. And so as I go and I do the research and I do the studies and I listen to the narrative that is being spoken out there, I finally come to the realization that the economic hidden secret is to take away the understanding of the economy for being your own decision and literally remove that from you. This is what the mainstream media does. It's what the politicians do. It's what your family does. It's what all the neighbors do. It's what everybody has seemed to come to the understanding for themselves, is that they have no control over the economy. They have no control over what happens to them within it. And this is the unfortunate consequence that most people face. Now, there are very, very few who have figured out that they are 100% in control of everything that they do, every bit of the decision making that they have done, and that led them down to the path that they are on. Now, once you have accepted it, you can see it in a much different light, but the moment that you throw it to the exterior, when you throw it onto something that is not you, that is not your fault, you will never be able to change anything that is needing to be changed in order for you to acquire the things that you need. So the hidden secret within it is that they want to be blamed. They literally want to be blamed for the problem. If you can blame them for the problem, you will never see it for yourself, and therefore they can control it the entire time. See, this is something that I have now realized, that when I see the credible threat theory now playing out in just about every corner of the economy, every time I turn around, I see it. I think about how it is that the credible threats that are being played out through the mainstream media narrative now control the outcome of so many people's decision-making process. I mean, just look at the speeches that were given by Christopher Waller. Oh, we need to cut rates. We need to cut them right away in order to support households and businesses. And he's saying he's saying businesses are right on the cusp of investing. They're holding back simply because of the fear, uncertainty, and doubt that exist out there because of tariffs. And then we have the mainstream media blasting all over the place right now that the tariffs may be illegal. And you think about how it is that this affects people's decision-making process. They got them completely scrambled. They have no clue about what it is that they're supposed to do. And now when I pull it back and I think for just a second, I was like, well, what is it that the Federal Reserve said that they wanted for an economic outcome? What did they want for their monetary policy? What was it that they were saying within the consensus statement? That never changed. As all the people think, well, what is it that the Federal Reserve is going to do? They're going to stick to the consensus statement. They're going to stick to what it is that they said that they were going to do, and whatever it takes in order to achieve that outcome. And so when I think about what it is that the Federal Reserve was planning on doing 5 years ago in order to elevate the inflation, in order to make up for the fact that they failed to achieve a 2% target, how many people really truly internalize that? Very few. How many people say that the Federal Reserve was bumping around like Mr. Magoo and had no idea what they were doing and screwed up and failed, and that inflation got away from them, and they still believe this? Meanwhile, the Federal Reserve is sitting over there absolutely performing to whatever level it is that they thought that they were going to achieve. They succeeded. All this chaos that you find, like, think about this, like the idea that Lisa Cook is going to get fired, and this is really questioning the independence of the Federal Reserve, and she did really bad, and she's fired for this stuff, right? And it's really blasting all over the mainstream media, and you get this really intense feeling that comes from it, that the Federal Reserve is going to be losing their independence over this stuff. And then you go and you look at what it is that a lot of these Fed governors have done that is fraudulent. It's way worse than what Lisa Cook did. I mean, go and take a look. Like, who was it? Kaplan and Rosenberg both resigned right at the beginning of the pandemic because they had done a bunch of insider trading. Now, one of them said he did it for health issues, but the other one straight up said, well, it's because of the investigation into the insider trading that I did. And yeah, I quit. I quit. Eh. And it was like, well, wait a minute, man, don't you go to jail, or isn't there any kind of thing? He was just like, nah, I'm just going to take my money and bail, right? Here's not the first. Bostic and Evans both got accused of doing some sort of shady dealings with their stuff, right? As far as their investments go. This isn't the first time this has happened. And so when I think about like, wait a minute here, these guys in the back were like really making money. I mean, Lisa Cook got a better interest rate or something. I mean, I don't know what it is that she's really truly accused of other than falsifying on whether or not it was a primary resident in order to get a better deal on her interest rates. I mean, okay, well, yeah, I mean, yeah, bad deal. But I mean, these other guys were like literally pulling in millions of dollars in insider trading deals, knowing that they were about ready to pass laws, well, they weren't, and the Fed doesn't pass laws, but that there was law about ready to be passed and stimulus packages about ready to be issued, and they were like front running the game. And they didn't get in trouble. Like, I mean, where's the firing? Yeah, it was just like they didn't even get hardly noticed at all. People kind of forgot about that, and it's certainly not being brought up now. And so when I think about like, okay, so how is it that this is being pushed to the independence, like to remove the independence of the Federal Reserve or something like that? I'm like, it doesn't. This isn't the first time stuff like this has happened, right? And it doesn't question the independence of the Federal Reserve. And so all this like idea that, Trump is going to fire, Lisa Cook. And I'm like, you can't really fire Lisa Cook without the just cause. In the moment that the just cause has been established through the evidence, she no longer has the position. So it's just like, you're trying to take credit for firing her for doing bad when literally the doing bad within itself would remove her from the position. She wouldn't be like even allowed to even work there through the ethics community, right? Through the ethics committee or whatever it is. And so I think about like how it is that they're using this power. He like, literally is like, I'm gonna fire you. See, I'm gonna control the Fed. I'm gonna do all this other stuff. And then people get really angry about it. It's just like, yeah, Powell better cut rates. And I'm like, Powell doesn't have power over that, right? Powell is a vote on the FOMC. The FOMC is the Federal Open Market Committee of a bunch of people who vote on monetary policy. Powell is one of them. Lisa Cook is one of them. There's other people out there, right? There's still yet another 10 people who vote on monetary policy, 5 alternates and 2 advisors who make up this monetary policy. And since we don't seem to look at that through the mainstream media narrative, but they focus on Powell making the decision, and if we seem to remove Powell, there will be some sort of profound change to the consensus statement, which is not accurate at all. See, the hidden secret is in mind control. It's the independence being removed from you of control of the economy, and they take control. This is our fault. We did this. It's her, it's him, it's this, it's that. Point of all these things. Look at, right? And do not take credit for yourself because it's not your fault, right? How many times have you heard? How many YouTube channels out there are super popular blaming all the rich people out there for the problem, right? Saying don't you blame yourself. Don't ever take credit for yourself. Don't ever take independence for yourself. Let them control the economy and blame them for the control over the economy and blame them for your shitty life. Right? That's how they do it. They literally tug on you like, oh man, you poor person. You poor person. You have it so bad. You have been put in such an economic state that you can't control over, and you have no reason to believe that you have any idea that you can actually do it for yourself or make anything happen from it. You poor individual, right? It's their fault. It's them rich. The rich people did it. It's all them rich people. They did this to you. It sucks. So you have no hope. You have no dreams. You have no idea what it is that you can do. And this is the unfortunate consequences of living in America. Poor person. Maybe there's somebody out there who can fix it. Maybe we can get somebody out there who can create a situation in which that this is all going to be better for you, right? Because it's not your fault. Don't take credit for it. Don't. Right? This is what they're doing to you. And the more I see it out there, the more I realize it's just like crap. All these people who think that they are helping are doing the exact opposite. It is the furthest thing from help I've ever seen in my life. Wow, what's going on there? Oh my gosh. Oh, holy man, that is a hell of a super chat. You just sent me 279 Canadian dollars. Oh my gosh. Alex Mark and Janus from Toronto here. Keep up the great work. I appreciate you. Man, thank you so much. I thank you so much for that. This is absolutely incredible. Wow. Kind of made me lose track there of what I was saying. But the ultimate to understand here is that you can control this, that you can control the outcome of what it is that you are seeing and feeling and believing out there about the economy. And if you relinquish that control to them and blame them for it as they want to take the blame, then you will be forced into understanding that they have absolute control over your outcome. And because you have left that outcome up to them, you'll be left with no understanding of what it is that you need to do in order to survive this, in order to get through it, in order to figure out what it is that you need to do in order to not suffer the consequences of living in inequality, right? Or being on the bottom side of the inequality wedge. The more I look into it, the more I realize, man, this ever increasing amounts of debt issuance is going to. There is no doubt about it. There is very little chance of anything ever happening that is not going to drive the wedge deeper. If there is ever increasing amounts of debt issuance, there will be ever increasing amounts of inequality. There is no other way about it. I've studied this back as far as the Cantillon essays. I've read as many possible documents talking about how it is that the separation takes place through ever increasing amounts of new money that pours in. It is incredible to think about how it is that you can actually internalize this stuff into a way that then when you see the people who are actually misunderstanding it and getting it wrong, when they are stuck into a mainstream media narrative belief, when you see this actually happen out there, you can then say, man, this is what I used to be. This is exactly how it is that I was holding myself back. This is exactly what it was that I was doing that created the economic environment of pain and suffering and misery. The moment that you switch this, like to think about how it is that there are people out there who have actually figured out how it is that they could live their life with low expenses, like as incredibly low, with as much income as possible. And then you see like a lot of these people who are doing this really aren't even making that much money, right? They're not out there making millions of dollars. Like some people might. I mean, I'm not saying they're not. Some people might be making millions of dollars. But ultimately, a lot of these people are not making all that great of money. They just figured out how to cut their expenses back as much as possible and then deployed that extra money, the money beyond the money you're already making, into something that has some sort of return. And the more they focused in on that, the more they realized, man, I can live free and independently by doing this. And then some people go out there and go like, oh man, you're lucky, or you've some sort of greed or whatever. And I think to myself, no, man, they just knew how to be disciplined. And there was very few people who knew how to do that. There was very few people who realized that they had to do it. Right? Once they realized that they had to do it and they did it and they got there, they found that they were very few in numbers. Not a lot of people did it. And so as there are people out there who have figured it out, they are few. So your competition is very minimal. There's not a lot of competition. So think about it in this fashion. If the majority of the people out there are suffering in pain and misery, then that's an abundance of pain and misery that exists. There's also an abundance of opportunity that they're not taking advantage of. And just a handful of people who do take advantage of it go like, it really wasn't that much. It was just a lot of time and discipline. Take control of Yourselves, people, read Ayn Rand, study on Mises, Friedman, and Hayek. Don't buy into the Keynesian stuff. It won't help. Yeah, well, I think what it is that you have to understand what it is that the position that we have now taken as a society. Now, we can't change the outcome. We can't change it to a gold standard. I mean, we can. I don't know if it's going to work. You can go down that idea that says, hey, man, we need a gold standard. We need a Bitcoin standard. We need the fiat standard. We need, global whatever. We don't need it all. You can have all these ideas of what we need, but that's an external blame. Think about that, right? We may not need that. Like I have, I got a hoodie on right now. It says "End the Fed" on the back of it right now. I have been pushing that idea for a very long time, but I think about it within myself. I think, okay, well, what is it that most people are going to do if you do end the Fed? I mean, is that just a benefit to me? Because I understand what it is that I would do in that particular situation. Most people would suffer the pain and consequences of not having positioned themselves to deal with without a central banking system, right? So ultimately, am I wishing pain and suffering and misery upon the people who just don't understand what's going on? No, absolutely not. I think that they should mind their business the best that they can possibly do it, and I will mind my business the best that I can, and I can recognize that we live in a Keynesian society, Keynesian economic society, that most people have no true understanding of how economics works. This is the reason why they are able to control the situation, is because most people have no clue about what it is that they need to do. And when you have this sort of mindset that goes on with the people, there is no way that you're going to be able to change anything about anything that's going on out there. So therefore, you have to make decisions that are appropriate to the current situation. That's it, right? No point in changing it. So I look out there and I think to myself, okay, I'll position myself, right? I mean, I don't like the idea behind any of it, but then again, I don't like it when it's really, really cold outside, and I don't like it when it's really, really hot outside. And I think to myself, so what is it? Am I going to have a perfect day every single day that I get to exist in? No, absolutely not, right? So I have to conduct myself every single day, regardless of the day. And this is the important part about understanding how it is that we deal with with ourselves and in the consequences of relying on somebody else to change the situation to make it better. Oh, if the Fed only cut rates, why didn't you just deal with the position to have higher interest rates? Why does the Fed have to cut? To make your life better? Why don't you figure it out? Like, I mean, right now there is the ability to fish just like everybody else is fishing. You can go out there and fish, and you're like, no, I want the tide to look like this. I want the weather to be like that. I want the conditions to be, and I want all these things to line up so it's all perfectly aligned with my universe, and then I'll be happy. Okay. Well, I'll see you later, right? I'm going to go out and figure out how to do this because that's not going to happen. It's just not. So once I come to that understanding, once I come to that reasoning behind it, then it was just like, okay, so let's do this. Let's make it happen. All right. Dumb people who blow all their money make great opportunities for disciplined savers. Well, I kind of agree with that. And I was one of the dumb people up until I was about 40 years old. I totally agree with that. Like, I didn't think that there was going to be any saving of America. I thought the economy was falling apart. I thought for sure it was gone. There was no, oops, oh, excuse me, guys. I didn't think that there was any way that there was going to be any hope, any expectation of success. Like that was not part of my mindset. It was gone. Right? And so I'm sitting there waiting and waiting, and I'm like, okay, waiting. Man, these numbers just keep getting bigger, this debt number, and what am I waiting for again? Like I'm waiting for everybody else to fail. Well, I'm watching people to succeed all around me. This sucks. Well, I'll wait a little bit longer. I'm sure things will get better for me if I just sit here and wait for everybody else to lose their mind and everything that they have, and that way my life will be so much awesomer. Waiting. Huh. What am I waiting for again? I better get up and do something. Right? The New World Order will deteriorate your life. I guarantee it will. No doubt. No doubt about it in my mind. Right? The global economists or the global elitists who, talk about who you'll own nothing and be happy, and you'll suffer the consequences of just being a human being and all that other stuff. And it was just like, yeah, they totally do it. They totally do it. They did to me for a long time. And then one day I was just like, you know what? I'm not going to listen to these people anymore. They don't help. They ain't protecting me. I mean, listening to this stuff doesn't protect me from anything at all. Silver closed on Friday. Looks like it has completed the handle on the cup and handle pattern. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see silver reach new all-time highs. And once it does, I think it'll really cut loose. Like, I mean, because you got to think about it. Like, silver's been incredibly support for a very long time, and once it does start to cut loose, it has a long ways to go. I mean, ultimately, it should be trading 10 to 1 to gold, so it should be upward around $200 or $300. In my mind, um, and that, like, I mean, I'm not putting that beyond the realms of possibilities, but I doubt that will really take place. But I wouldn't be surprised to see it have, like, a significant run, because once it does start to move like this, it really takes off. And so that's quite exciting. And, I think about, like, even the idea of how it is that I was able to acquire this truck right here using silver as collateral for a loan. And then now that deal, which was a $3,000 deal. It was done at $30 an ounce, 100 ounces. Well, right now, if I ever paid back that loan, the person that I had given the silver to for collateral to get the loan would have been sitting on $4,000 with the metal, right? Like we were talking about it the other day, and I was just like, you should have kept the metal. I tried to just give it to you, right? And I was just going to trade the truck for it and just call it a trade, but no, he didn't. He wanted the cash. He ended up keeping one bar out of it, and I bought all the rest back, and a buddy of mine bought one too because I wanted to give him a good deal on it. So I think about how it is that I use that precious metal and what it is that it means for me and the people that I have networked with in order to deal with it. And here it is, at $40 an ounce, and everybody's kind of laughing at it, saying, "Man, what an awesome trade that was! It worked out so well for everybody," and we're all like giving each other high fives over it. That's the type of, like, thought and ideas that I have for silver, right? So if it goes up to $600 or something, that means I would have only had to do the deal with 5 ounces instead of, or not 5 ounces. Yeah, 5 ounces of silver as opposed to 100 ounces of silver. So, but I would have done the same kind of trade, right? All right. It is clear we are at the beginning of a commodity supercycle. Do you expect a pullback in precious metals initially when the stock market begins to sell off? I don't know. I've been hearing about the supercycle in commodities for a very long time. I wouldn't doubt it, but I don't try to time. I don't try to guess. I don't try to do anything of that stuff in the market. You guys know me. I'm lumber, right? I go to the lumber game. I look at lumber. I pay attention to lumber. I look at the industry. I look at the logging community. I look at the trucking community. I look at the mill operations. I look at the inventory levels. I look at the supply chains. I look at the pricing. I look at my retail side of things. I look at a lot of stuff when it comes to lumber. There's really no corner of that market that I cannot see. And I am telling you right now, that market is suppressed, depressed, bad market, right? It is not doing well. And when do you do? Buy low, sell high, buy into us, when people are crying in the streets, that's when you buy, when there's blood in the streets, right? So right now, when I think about mill closures, mill operations, layoffs, mill curtailments, inventory depletions, low lumber prices, I'm thinking, oh yeah, this is time, right? I'm watching the builders stock. Like, did you guys see how fast DR Horton stock moved? Let me see if I can bring it up here. It was incredible. I own a tiny little bit of DR Horton stock. Like, I mean, it's like $10. I think I bought of it. It was not much, right? In fact, no, it wasn't even that much. I think it was $5 that I got with Robinhood for signing up. They give you like $5 in stock you can buy. So I bought like DR Horton, just to take a position and just to watch it. And it's incredible. It moved dramatically. Let me bring it up here. Hold on one second. It was like a 30% move or something, or even bigger in the last 3 months. Now, what does that say about the builders, right? Let me bring it up here. What is that? DHI? Is that the ticker symbol? Yeah. So I mean, it's trading at 169.80 right now. Let me bring it over a year chart. Oops. And that stock was down at 100, like 120 bucks in June. It's at 170 now. All right. I mean, that's a pretty good return, inside of just a few months. I mean, really, like I called that one out too. I called it out in nail. And I don't really talk about it much because I wasn't doing it for investment advice for anybody, because I don't really think that that was a very smart stock trader kind of move strategy. I was looking at a 3 times leveraged ETF that follows builders and suppliers, and the feeling that I was getting a few months ago is that we have hit a bottom, that there is an uptick in economic activity happening within the lumber industry, and it's not, but it was some. And I thought to myself, that's very interesting. Are people now taking a position in which that the belief of easing economic activity or easing economic conditions is now bringing some economic activity, right? Easing financial conditions. Like the idea of interest rate cuts coming into the future has now got people moving, right? And I think that is actually happening, and we witnessed it a few months ago. Now, I was taking a position in nail dollar cost averaging, which every single stock trader who has ever like watched my channel threw their hands in the air and was screaming and pulling their hair out saying, "Don't do this. This is not the way you do this." And I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm so doing this, right? I am. I mean, yeah, I'm the uneducated economist. I don't take I'll take chances, sure, whatever. Boom, boom, boom. Dollar cost average every single week for the last, well, since the middle of June, and have absolutely killed it. Right? It has done so well. That stock has moved up. Like, I got in on a low at $44, and I think it's trading at 82 right now, right? But again, this thing is so volatile that the chances of you losing your money are quite extreme, because again, it's just like it's not the type of stock that you're supposed to own or hold for any length of time. Like most people don't even really, I think like the average holding length of this is 24 hours. It's like literally like only professional traders hold it for leverage purposes or whatever. I mean, I don't even understand like what the position that most of these people are doing with their stock trades anyway, because I'm not a stock trader. But I am in the lumber game and I am in the builders. Like I can see a lot of issues that are taking place, and I see it in a way that most people cannot, because most people who are looking at this particular industry have to look at data. They have to like bring up like charts and stuff like that. And I'm thinking of phone calls that I'm getting. I'm thinking of the interactions that I'm having with customers. I'm listening to the vendors speak. I'm listening to the mill operations, truck drivers, and logging operations. And I'm sitting there thinking, man, I wonder how many people could compile this much information into one video or one thought, right? Or into one head in order to come up with a thought about what's going on within the economy. This is what made me really famous here on YouTube, right? Was being able to call out the lumber industry as well as I did. And thinking that I've been able to, no pun intended, nail, right? It's just like, I know that my information when it comes to the lumber industry is second to none. There is literally nobody else out there who can do it as good as me. And I don't mean to brag about it. It's just literally the position I'm in. Nobody has this position. Even the people who are up in the big CEOs of these, mill operations or whatever, they don't get the phone call for the retail customer like I do, right? They have to wait to see what ends up happening, what kind of communications they're getting from the retail suppliers and how it is that their numbers are coming through, and then they look at data points. And I'm sitting there already going like, dude, that's like months old. I'm getting it in real time right now. Do. That's why it's working out well for me, is because I'm not going off of charts. I'm not going off of anything else. I'm going off of the anecdotal evidence that I am finding by living the life. Yeah. All right. The secret is that they're gonna grab you by your, okay. Like having or I can't go on with that, man. I'm sorry, I can't read your comment. You're gonna have to chill. You're gonna have to clean it up, man. That's just all there is to it. Do you think gold will get revalued at a much higher price in order to pay off some of the? I don't think any of that's gonna happen. I don't think any of that kind of stuff. I don't think there's going to be any kind of profound change or shift or anything to the monetary policy outside of the tokenization of the dollar through stablecoin issuance. That's going to be the profound change. Right? And most people won't even notice that it's happening because it's happening right now. Most people aren't even noticing. So that, I mean, like, to me, that's like almost no doubt in my mind that that's going to be the major shift. Is that one day people are like, how come it is that every single like major corporation has like a coin issuance, right? And it's just like, because everything is going into these stable coins and all the cash is going to get removed from the system and everybody's going to be tokenizing their products, their companies, their time, their services. Everything's going to get on a tokenized blockchain, whatever kind of, aspect of it. But ultimately, cash will be removed from the system. And because you can see it happening, like, is this the direction in which that it's headed? So it's just a matter of time. Yui, you said is clicking. What you said is clicking. More debt issuance. Oops. More debtors. More of the people's paycheck go towards servicing the debt, driving the wedge. Rich, poor, further. Don't allow crowd trying to avoid debt. Yeah. Well, okay. So that's really more the symptoms of it. Like, because it's not just the debt issuance, because it's hold on. Depending on what you do with that debt. If you are taking that debt and deploying it towards a return that pays the debt and gives you a little bit, or just pays the debt and then leaves you with an asset at the end of it, then that's good debt. Bad debt is when you take that and deploy it into a luxurious experience that now you have to postpone further consumption in order to pay for the past experience plus the interest rate. Right? So it's the decision making process that people do with the debt that really drives the wedge. Now, just because you issue out debt doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to drive a wedge. People could take that debt and then turn it into more money. They could take and start a business. They can, buy a rental property. They could buy something with it that is going to help them achieve a better way, right? To have a return on their capital, a return on their capital, right? Or return on their interest rates, or beyond their interest rate that they are paying. So it's an understanding that what people do with the money, right? What people do with the debt, that's what's going to do it. Now, most people go like, I deserve it. Give me the new pickup truck. Sign here, right? And then down to one side that they go. Now, on the other side of that, you have a whole other group of people who are going, I want to buy that apartment complex, right? That's the difference. So the more opportunity that people have to do that, the faster the wedge gets driven. And because people make more people make a decision to buy a luxurious experience, and you can see it through the buying of vehicles. How many people have a car loan? Right? Like, everybody has a car loan. It seems like, I mean, everybody drives a nicer car than me. I mean, so they must at some point have a car loan to buy that car. I mean, I know I've been trying to save up to buy a car. And every time I get to the point that I want to buy a car, I'm like, I am not buying a car with this money. Right? I am going to get some sort of return on it because it's way too much money to deploy to a car when I can sit there and get some sort of return on it. So I keep it in assets that I believe are either going to go up in price or have some sort of return on it. So this is the position that I have now taken, even though I have now got the ability to buy the car, which was the original thought. I want to save up enough money to buy a car. Once I got there, I'm like, oh, hell no, I ain't buying no car. Right? So now here I'm looking like I'm on the bottom side of the wedge because I drive this 97 Suburban with a couple of screws in the door to hold my phone. And my wife is driving a 99 Explorer, but yet I'm loading up on a 401k. She's loading up on her retirement. I'm putting money towards, a personal just portfolio of stocks that I am building. I buy, into all kinds of stuff. I keep my expenses incredibly low and I have a tiny little bit of debt, right? So to me, I think about the decision making process that I have gone down from switching from I don't care it's all going to fail. Debt is bullshit, right? I'm not paying it, to a whole different idea. It was just like, don't take on any more debt, pay that off, deploy money towards a return that you're going to have sometime in the future, focus in on that, keep the expenses low. Where else can I go and get some money? Right? It's all about the mindset. All right. What's this? Link to my legal mentors channel where he talks about fighting the IRS and why not to. Right on. Right on, all-nighter. Thank you for being here. Cash is king. Yep, it sure is. Okay. Live in debt. It depends on the debt that you want to live. I mean, I don't have a problem living in debt. In fact, most of the people who I know who are absolutely filthy rich, or like filthy rich, those people all carry massive amounts of debt. It's all good debt. They buy debt or take out debt and buy cash flowing assets with it. They are swimming in debt, right? But it's paying them an incredible amount. All right. Blessings from Italy, sir. All right, on. Well, thank you for being here from Italy. Tell all your friends in Italy, hi from the Uneducated Economist. All right. No taxes on debt. Yeah, you don't pay taxes on debt. You can borrow money and not pay taxes on the borrowed money. All right. How far back? Wake up, kids. The IRS is controlling all your money. They even got the Swiss bank to give them complete access to all the American accounts. This guy is a clown. Go away then, man. Go away. This is something that I found very interesting, is that somebody is willing to take the time to actually argue with me or something here, or to kind of discredit the channel. And I think to myself, dude, who is it that you're trying to convince more, yourself or me or the people here? The idea that you have better information or more worthy information, or that my information isn't worthy and you're spending your time here, is actually lending power to me, right? It's not taking power away. It's actually giving me more power, because what it does is it creates the power pendulum. The power pendulum then takes your attention, regardless if it's good or bad, and it puts it on my pendulum of energy that I am now deploying. See, now I got everybody focused in on me. See, this is how politicians and mainstream media and stuff like that do it. They really like to argue with people and get them really fired up onto ideas and beliefs and stuff that really is superficial, doesn't really give them any kind of useful information or ideas, and just say, oh no, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. And then they argue about who's more wrong, right? And with this, there is no way that you can then internalize any kind of information that is going to be like, okay, so I understand now the strategy and how it is that they're deploying the strategy, what it is that I can do to position myself in accordance to the strategy. What they're saying is, no, the strategy is wrong. It could be this, it could be that. There's all kinds of stuff. Here, get on my pendulum and let's discuss it. But let's not discuss what it is that's really taking place, which is, here is the monetary policy strategy. This is what it is that they are shooting for. If we step back a little bit and kind of ignore the noise and just observe what it is that's happening within the inflationary scenarios, within the interest rate setting policy, within the neutral interest rate, and then we go and we look at what it is that they had communicated, it's just like, dang, they're not too far off from what it is that they said that they wanted, right? All these other people out there are saying they got it wrong, they did this, all that other stuff. They jumped on these pendulums that then now are swinging them way wildly out of control, that doesn't give them any kind of real understanding of what it is that's happening. The people who jumped on the pendulum that I was talking about, saying, nah, make up strategy, neutral interest rates, this is the problem that they are having, were then blasting through all those other ones saying, man, that stuff doesn't make sense. They're getting it wrong. They have no idea what they're talking about. And we are actually focused in on what it is that we can do in accordance to what it is that the Federal Reserve is going to be doing with their interest rates, because they're probably going to keep them extra high, extra long for an extended period of time in order to raise the neutral interest rate and get their ammo back. All right. And I mean, I wonder how many people really internalize it in that fashion. Right. So, it's still going to be that way. Think about it. Even if they were to cut rate, this is what's funny. I love it. They're like, people are like, oh man, they're going to cut interest rates soon. And I'm like, okay, what do you think that's going to do? Exactly. Because the idea of cutting interest rates means that's stimulating the economy. Right? Cutting interest rates stimulates the economy. And it's just like, it only stimulates the economy if they can get below neutral, because there is a neutral interest rate that neither accommodates nor restricts the economy. And if they get below neutral, that stimulates the economy. But if they're at neutral, what does that mean? It doesn't mean stimulation. It means less restriction. See, this is where I find a lot of people are misunderstanding how it is that it's going to boost the economy and make everything better and all this other stuff. And I'm like, no, that's not the point, right? If they cut rates, they're going to cut the neutral, and then it's going to take 6 months to a year before it really affects the economy, but nobody really thinks about it that way. Everybody thinks about it in a way that was just like, nope, let's support the housing market or something, you know? And I'm like, well, believe what you want, because those are the power pendulums that most people end up getting on, because that's what they're watching on as far as the mainstream media. I don't know how many people have told me, I was just like, dude, you got it so wrong. The Federal Reserve follows the 10-year, right? Wherever the 10-year's dictating where they go. And I'm like, no, forward guidance does, right? The signaling does. I mean, think about it. The jawboning taking place right now is pushing the interest rates around, and the Federal Reserve is sitting there on their hands going, man, we're so good at this. We're so good at this. We can sit here and just talk all day long, not do a damn thing, and we can manipulate the markets because we have the tools to do it. We know the specific words and sentences in order to quickly incorporate into asset prices, and they know that the market is listening to the words that they use, and those words will then ease or tighten financial conditions. And if you don't believe me, maybe we should just let Tom or Philip Jefferson tell you, right? Because he said it in a speech just not too long ago, those exact words. Let me bring it up here for you. Boom, right here. Textual analysis of central bank communication, February 21st of 2025. And this is exactly what Philip Jefferson, voting member of the FOMC, had to say. He said, using textual analysis, high-frequency asset price data, and high-frequency central bank communication data, this research shows that investors' reactions to specific sentences communicated by the central bank are quickly incorporated into asset prices. So if you just listen to the Fed, that will adjust asset prices. What's an asset? A U.S. Treasury is a financial asset, and it has a price just like anything else has out there, and it goes up and down. When people look at the U.S. Treasury, they look at the yield, what it is that it's going to return. But it has a price tag attached to it, and it is a financial asset, just like any other asset, and their communications are quickly incorporated into those asset prices. They know the words to use, right? I mean, he said specific sentences communicated by the central bank. Do you think? What specific sentences? Well, here we got these specific sentences we're going to use. Then we know what it is that we need to say in order for those things to get quickly incorporated into asset prices. It goes on to say this: policymakers know that their communication, policymakers, that's like the FOMC, right? Federal Open Market Committee. These are the people who set monetary policy. Policymakers know that their communications are likely to affect the course of short-term interest rates, other asset prices, and the associated economic outlook, resulting in an easing or tightening of financial conditions. Right there. They know their communications will adjust the prices and will ease or tighten financial conditions. They don't have to do anything but communicate. They have to communicate the right words into the economy, which is used through the mainstream media narrative. Right? Their secret is that they have control over it, not you. You have control over it if you understand what it is that's going on. You make the decision. You make the decision on what you save, where you put that money, what businesses you start, what investments you take, what retirement plan you have. I mean, all that stuff. That is all you, every bit of it. And then they say, hey, you don't have control over any of that. That's wrong. You do. You have absolute control over it. In fact, nobody else does but you. Trump won't last his term, they will bring in JD Vance. Okay. I have seen Kiyosaki method get out of balance and crash 100,000, or interest rates pulled everything out of the balance. Destruction made me like slow, sure, very fast lose. I'm not saying you're not taking on risk. Do it. Excuse me. I'm not saying you're not taking on risk doing it. And I'm not saying it's an easy game. There's nothing that's an easy game. People tell me all the time, dude, you should get into rental properties, man. It's an easy game. And I'm thinking to myself, no, it's not. I am sitting in a position in which that I see constant nightmares from landlords talking about the rental properties and having to work on them. I mean, I work at a lumber building supply center, right? So when I think about how it is that a lot of people talk about the easy money that comes from rental properties, I'm thinking that's far from easy, right? That's not easy money. And then it's even more difficult if you're trying to play an interest rate game as well. Right? So am I in that game? Absolutely not. Now, if you were to ask me, how is it that all the rich people did it? The ones that I know, they did it like that. I don't know, right? I mean, I'm not doing it. But people ask me all the time, dude, you should do it. And I'm thinking, yeah, I see the nightmares that come from it. But yeah, you're right. Every single rich person that I know who's ever made it like really rich, who's made a lot of money at it, all did it with real estate in that way. Every one of them. So, like, I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel, right? And to try and say, hey, man, it comes from real estate. That's how most people make money, make a lot of money anyway. And that's usually the way it's done, is through financing. Financial firefighter can talk about scaling too fast. Right on, all-nighter, thank you. All right. You think society survives the growing inequality? Society to like forever? I mean, to what level? Like what, in our lifetimes? I don't understand the question. Like, there's got to come a timeline with it. The inequality is going to grow, but think about like how it is that really it doesn't seem to bother people. Like before, it was very important to have a house and car to own. Like as an individual, as as a person, having a house, the family, the car, that stuff, that was a real important thing. Well, now you don't really need any of that stuff. You got like, right, sure. Like I was, getting ice cream last night, and I watched the DoorDash guy come in, or Uber Eats, or whatever he was, come in to go get some fries that they were making there at this ice cream place, in order to get it up to the people up on the hill or wherever it was that they were staying. And I'm thinking, man, the convenience is going to be just more prevalent. It's just going to show up more, right? Like the idea that there's some dude who's going to run down and get your fries and take it up to your house. Right? And some people are like, that's not a big deal, right? To me, like I'm thinking as a kid, that's a big deal. Like when I was a kid, like if that was to happen, that was a big deal. That would have been like you would have had to been like super rich to have somebody go down to the store and go down to the restaurant and get you a pack of fries and bring them back. You think about that. You would had to have been rich in order for that to happen. Now it happens, and nobody thinks it's a big deal. Think about that. That's like mass affluence. And this is something so simple as just a delivery of fries. But to think about how it is that the convenience are now more prevalent today than they have been ever, and people don't think that's wealth. Food, conveniences, and pleasures of life. If you have those three things, you have wealth. This is mass wealth that we are now swimming in. People want to say, well, I want possessions. So it's like, you want more wealth than the wealth that you have? Like food, conveniences, and pleasures of life. That's it. That's in the entirety of wealth. Uh-oh. Did I miss a super chat here? I did. Thank you so much, All Nighter, for calling that out. Justin, thank you so much for the $2. How do you document a personal transaction? Oh, it's a really sad thing to actually, I don't have to document any of it anymore because I lost all my silver in an unfortunate boating accident yesterday. And I didn't really want to talk about it because it was still kind of shocking and a little hurtful right now to deal with. But, yeah, it's gone. I have to start over. but it's okay. It's not a big deal. It's just like, I mean, I'll do it for the kids, just thinking that, they will have something in their life when I get there, when that big time comes, that they will have something left. And I know that's, it's unfortunate for me now, but, you know, you know how it goes. I mean, yeah. Yeah, it sucks. No, I didn't quite lose everything like that. Yeah. The Bitcoin went with it. Yeah. It was no. Well, that's only if you want to be. Listen, we walk around as humans making decisions for ourselves and interact with people. When it's an even trade, there's no point in anybody. Let me ask you something. Can two kids swap baseball cards back and forth until neither one of them owns it because they should have been paying taxes on it? Like, to me, I think about what it is that is an even trade. If you and I are doing an even trade and there's no profit or gain from what it is that we are doing, there's no point in telling anybody about it. All right? Now, if you want to go and use it for reasons of financial gain, you want to get a loan for something and you want to use that particular asset, well, now you want to play in the game. You want to play in their game. Well, that's not the same game as being just a human who walks the earth. You're playing in a financial game of their creation, this man-made thing, right? So, yeah, that's an unfortunate consequence to have to play in that game. But you don't have to play in that game, right? And as much as they say, hey, you have to, no, it's voluntary. It's 100% voluntary the entire time. You have to be careful with where you sign your name, because once you sign your name, you're signing contracts, and now you got a whole other game you're playing. Yeah? Your name is everything. And if you never sign your name, you don't have to sign your name to anything. You're never required to sign your name to anything ever. Right? You choose to. That's a voluntary thing that you are doing. If you want to play their game, it is. We're humans who walk the earth. If I got this can of water right here, right? This can of water belongs to me. I can do whatever I want with this can of water. I can drink it. I can dump it out on the ground. I can give it to somebody, or I can go and store it for later. There's nothing that anybody can tell me what to do with this water, right? It is mine. The moment that somebody says, hey, man, you can't do that with that water, and I'm thinking, do what? What is it that I can't do with this water? It's mine. I mean, I can't throw the can at somebody and hurt them. I mean, that's like, I'm damaging somebody else. But as far as me and this can of water, there's nobody, not a single person out there who can tell me what it is that I can or cannot do with this water. And that's the same for everything that goes on in my life. The moment that I sign my name to something, now I'm putting myself in attachment to have their sort of interest in my life. And I don't move that direction, not with anything. The deal I did with this car is completely between three people. Right? I don't have to pay taxes on a state that doesn't have sales tax. Right? In cash. The entire deal was done 100% in cash. Silver was merely a collateral to show wealth, I could have used 10 sticks. I could have broken off 10 branches off of a tree and done the exact same thing and say, hey, these 10 branches, right, these 10 sticks right here represent $300 a piece that I owe you. And then once I have all the sticks back, I don't owe you any more debt. It represented the exact same thing, right? I could have done the deal with that, right? If the guy would have trusted me on it, because it really came down to that trust. But I didn't want to have it in that sort of trust that I wanted these sticks back. Instead, I used 10-ounce bars of silver. But because they're silver, now I can't do this deal? Not the same. I got all the silver. He's got his money. I got this car. There's no sales tax in Oregon. There's nothing to communicate to anybody. Mhm. All right. The check my bank with references the see cash in the account so everyone feels better. When I so here's funny thing, like when it came to buying the house even, I had cash that I wanted to use for the down payment, but I couldn't just put the cash in my bank account because they would want to know where it came from. So I literally had to have I gave the cash to my parents and had them write me a check. Right, saying it was a gift for the rest of the amount. So that's way I could like document where the money came from. I mean, I guess it was, like, I don't know if that was exactly legal or whatever, but it wasn't like money as just money I had, but I couldn't just put it in the bank and put it down on my house. I had to have like, where did this money come from kind of thing. And so, God, that was just a nightmare. Buying the house was such a nightmare. This guy's deaf, uneducated. Well, 85, go find, like, I think that's your unfortunate consequence from the hanging out here and trying to then just be smarter than everybody else in the comment section here. I don't know where it is that you don't think that I have an understanding of economics, but maybe you do think I have an understanding of economics, and this is, just you being a troll. I don't know. But ultimately, you're here. You're listening. You're watching. You're on my power pendulum. You're giving me and my stuff power. So, thanks. All right. Obnoxious having to go through those hoops on your own dough. Yeah. I've learned a ton from you, Thanks. I appreciate it, man. I personally believe the extreme frugality mentality and fear of debt can be detrimental to personal wealth growth. You'll never see your way to real wealth. Yeah. The extreme frugality mentality. That's kind of interesting. The extreme frugality mentality. I think people might see that when I drive the 97 Suburban, but they would never witness that when I'm at the restaurant. You know that? Oh yeah, get the steak, get the hors d'oeuvres, get those oysters, get drink, get that fancy drink, get all the stuff. It's because the experience of being able to do that was something that I never had in my life, and I really enjoy it. When I'm there in that environment and I'm watching people enjoy the setting and the music and the food and everything that's going on there, and I'm back thinking, man, this is it. This is my experience. This is what I enjoy. Like driving a fancy car is cool while you're driving it. And then I guess if you really like are superficial, you like looking at it in the parking lot. I mean, but to me, like none of that stuff is like I have very little care over that kind of stuff. What I really want to enjoy is my experience of life, right? And maybe some people really get a better life experience by driving a fancy car. I don't, right? Like that's not for me. I would much rather have that money to go do whatever the hell it is that I want. And if I want to go and eat $50 worth of sushi for lunch, I don't have a problem going and doing that. I don't have to think, man, I have to budget for this or I can't do anything like that. If I see that there's an awesome show that's going on and I want $50 to go pay the tickets, or $50 a piece to go get the tickets, and yeah, let's go right now. Not even think about it, right? It's because I don't have a car payment to worry about. These are the type of things that I like to do. Spontaneously being able to do whatever the hell I want, whenever I want to be able to do it, is a luxury of life that I truly enjoy. And I don't think I would be able to do that if I had a car. If I had a fancy car, I'd be like, oh no, I can't do that, man. Right? Maybe if you have a fancy car and you can do all those other things in life, hey man, that is awesome. Right? You've really done figured it out. And I'd love to get to that point. But right now, I think I can just do all the awesome things I want to with life, and I can drive this 97 Suburban just fine. And it'd be just the same to me. All right. When I talk about the extreme frugality mind, I wasn't really calling you out. No, I'm just saying I do have an extreme frugality mind, but it's not in everything. I agree that your beater ride is a wise decision. No, Jeff, I wasn't like disagreeing or anything like that or trying to be argumentative. I'm just thinking to myself, I do have a frugality mindset. Like, I don't have fancy clothes. Like, I have a little bit of clothes that are kind of nice, but I don't have like a wardrobe full of nice stuff. I mean, you guys see it. I wear the same hoodies almost every single videos. Um, I don't really get into material possessions or anything like that. But I have definitely put myself in a position in which that I feel much more comfortable about having a decent outcome at the end of all this. Like, I'm getting there. I don't feel like I am there yet, or that I am like achieved even the level of the appropriate path that I need to be on, but I'm getting to that path, right? So I'm working it up, and it's happening. So that's the mindset that I am in, is that I do have the ability to do a lot of stuff in my life, but I don't, because I want to be able to acquire a better position in order to do those things. Ducking out, gotta get ready for the church. Thanks, UE. Great stream. Well, thank you very much, Standard Nursery. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate everybody being here. We're an hour into this live stream with 170 likes and 91 thumbs up. Thank you for hitting that thumbs up button. We are breaking this stuff down every single day for all of us to understand in a better way. If there's anything that you want me to break down, if there's any other speeches you want me to cover, if there's anything you want to hear again, let me know. Like, this is the time that you want to ask questions. This is the answers. This is the time to get the answers. Help guide the live stream, because I really do feel that them taking control over the economy through them having you blame them for it is really the unfortunate consequences that most people end up living on. You, the man with the plan. Well, I don't know if I'm necessarily got the appropriate plan. Time will tell, but at least I am believing that I am doing it in the fashion that I need to, and that is to be in that direction, right? I mean, I'm gonna stumble and figure out the strategy as we go, but I'm like, I can see it. It's like, it's got to go. Well, not got to, because that's like kind of egotistical in a lot of ways to say I got to do it this way. But I think that if I'm doing it this way, it's got to be the appropriate way. Like, I don't think there's much else that I could do. I guess there's more that I could do. I don't know what I'm doing. I have no idea what I am doing, right? I'm just winging it. I'm just like, I have no idea. Even when I'm flush, I don't spend any money, just don't have expensive taste, and could care less about the fake show. Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree. Like, I don't. I mean, I see people stress, like they're like, oh man, I don't know this bill, or they're looking at scrutinizing things, and I'm like, ooh, that sucks. That must be a bummer position to be in, to feel that stressed over the money, feel that stressed over your bills, over your income or something. Like, if I do well one month and not so well the next month, I mean, I don't take it like, as a critical thing. It's just like, oh no, it's like, to me, one month does well, it's like, all right, that's cool, get a little bit of extra, savings, or pay a little bit more on that particular debt or something of that nature. And then on a bad month, or what would be a lesser month or something like that, a bad month, there is no such thing as bad months, right? It's just a lesser month. And then it's just like, hey, well, this month you don't get to invest that much, and you don't get to save or whatever, and it's just going to be paying the bills. And that's the way I think about it. It was just like, the following month, we just do it again and see if we can, do something that's helpful and useful to this universe that gives you some sort of return. I have 3 beaters now because of you. If one don't start, I'm inconvenienced all of 10 seconds. Yep. See, and that's me too. I basically have 3 beaters. I have, these 2 main vehicles that I drive, and then I got the pickup truck. And I got to register the pickup. I realized that the registration expired like a while ago. All right, it's been showing how long since I've driven it. All right. He said he used laundered money of uneducated taxes through his parents' bank account. Huh, laundered money. Okay. What's the cheapest thing you do? What's the cheapest thing you do? What do you mean by that? What's the cheapest thing? I don't know what that means. I think the extreme side of the wedge looks like UBI high enough or from bothering the rich too much. Rich side is the limit. Have you ever seen anything from Brandon Joe Williams? Uh-uh. I have him pull this wedge out of me. It hurts. Deplorable. All right. Grew up late 70s, 80s as a kid, teen. Today, absolute poverty is a thing for real, especially in the urban areas. Yeah, and that's the unfortunate consequences the wedge gets driven is that the poverty is going to grow in it's going to grow worse, right? And that's because the average job isn't going to be enough to really pull yourself out of poverty. It's hardly enough to even maintain a decent life. And it's going to get, and it's going to get more extreme. So the unfortunate consequences is that most people will look at the economy being faulty because the day job doesn't cut it anymore. Right. So, like, as your day job sucks, even a good job sucks, they're going to say, hey, look, wages don't keep up with living standards. And they're going to say all this stuff about it. And they're going to be like, so, the rich need to do something or the government needs to do something in order to get this day job in order to be enough to, or be sufficient enough to, in order to acquire enough within the lifestyle of the people. And everybody sits around and tries to figure that part out. Like, how is it that we can get the 9 to 5 job to be sufficient for the extreme problems that we now face with inequality, making it very difficult for this day job in order to buy a house and a car and the wife and the kids and all the other stuff that goes along with it. It used to do it, it doesn't do it now. So what is it that we need to do in order to get this 9 to 5 job to be sufficient enough? And this is the focus on it all. And I step back going, it will never be enough. Don't think that it will. Go find something else to do along with your 9 to 5 job, and now you'll have enough because the day job will never, ever, 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 ever be enough. And so when I finally come to that understanding is when all the shift started to happen. Once you come in with more money beyond that of your day job and you figure out how to make $1 off of the internet, off of a side hustle, off of something out there, and then duplicate that. Change $1 to $2 to $4 to $8, and you guys see where I'm getting at. This is the new economy. The people who are stuck in this old mindset that a 9 to 5 job needs to be enough, working 40 hours of work, will fail. That's it. They will fail. That sort of mindset is lost. It's a lost concept. It's a lost belief. It's a lost economic theory, and there's no way that it's going to be successful. And anybody who tries to go down that road will fail miserably. There is no other way of looking at it. There might be some place somewhere in this country in which that day job will be sufficient enough. For most people, they will fail miserably because of it. It will not work. Now, when you think about how many opportunities you actually have, holy moly. All right, when you think about how many actual opportunities you have right now to go out there and earn money, to figure out how it is that you can earn money online, like content creation has definitely done a number for a definite group of society in this world, right? But it doesn't necessarily have to come from content creation. There is online sales that you can do. There's all kinds of coaching possibilities that can happen from your services or understandings of what it is that you have with your skill sets. There is so many opportunities to do things out there that people just don't take advantage of. And when they don't take advantage of it, they're worried about their day job being enough. And now they have to compete against people who have that day job and are taking advantage of it. And those people, now you have to compete against apartments, you have to compete against cars, you have to compete against the food, you have to compete against all these other people who have this extra income, this money beyond the money they're already making, because they have figured out there are so many opportunities out there to do it. And this is the unfortunate consequences of most economists out there, as they're so, how do we get our 9 to 5 employees to make enough money to live in standard society and have this blah, 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 and they babble off all this nonsense. And I'm thinking, you won't. You suffer the consequences of focusing your time, effort, and energy on how to fix the economy to make that happen, and it's not going to work. Okay. And I don't mean to sound like, bitter or angry about it, but it's just so frustrating when I see these people out there who throw out this sort of belief system. Right? They like, I mean, I see them, they have hundreds of thousands of views on their channel, and they're like, oh, well, if the rich just did this, then everything would just be so much better in the world, And I'm like, the rich will never do that. Your piss poor concepts of what it is that is going to happen with the rich and what it is that they're going to do, and forcing through government action about what it is they're going to do, is going to cause even more inequality and get worse. Right? Because most people will not position themselves accordingly to deal with it. They're going to be hopeful, wishful, and dreaming that you're right. And you're not, right? You can't fix it. There's no fixing it. There's no fixing this. Thank you so much, Sarah, so for the Canadian dollars, 139.99. My gosh, you are just really doing a number for the channel today. I cannot thank you enough. I purchased a home for a few million with 700K off asking price. My goodness. I don't have a mortgage and am in it for the long haul. In your opinion, how long do you think it'll take for real estate market to bounce back? Sorry to hear about your silver crypto loss. Yeah, it was a really sad story. How long for it to take to bounce back? And I think really the crash is in transactions. Right? So this is really where the economic crash comes in. But most people are kind of looking for it in prices to occur. And so when you have like, in my mind, right, what ends up happening is people have like almost this egotistical way of looking at the economy, or at least at real estate, saying there's going to be a crash in prices. And I'm thinking, well, there's already a crash occurring. It's in transactions, right? So as people are like, yeah, that's not the crash is going to be in prices. And I'm like, but there's already a crash that's occurring right now, and that's in transactions. And there's like a definite crash in transactions taking place. And as people kind of want to focus in on saying, well, when's the price? When's this going to happen? When's that? And I'm like, well, I'm focused more on when are the transactions going to change? Because it seems that there's almost a feeling of shifting in the wind, in the idea that there's going to be easier financial conditions coming into the future. The idea of the Fed cutting interest rates, the idea of people being able to roll over their old loans into new loans. This whole idea is now creating some sort of economic activity out there that might be showing up within the home builders right now. Because if you look at D.H. Horton, right, D.R. Horton, sorry, and their stock has moved dramatically over the last few months. I almost called it out at its bottom when I was saying, hey, I'm buying in on nail. Now, again, I could feel that from my own industry. Now, I didn't see something like permit issuance going up. I don't see a massive amount of sales happening. I don't see like all of a sudden a demand for lumber that is like obviously saying, hey, look, the change has taken place. I haven't seen any of that stuff yet. But the general feelings that I'm getting from the economic environment that I'm not only watching through the monetary policy, but then also living within the Pacific Northwest and listening to the loggers, listening to the truck drivers, listening to the mill operations, listening to the inventory levels that are out there, all these things combined, I'm thinking, I think we're at the bottom. Like, I think we're at the bottom. I don't know. Feels that way. I just don't feel the deterioration getting worse. Like, this is like, it's bad. But like, I don't feel like, like when you're first getting sick and you're like, uh-oh. And then like, a few hours later, you're like, oh, dang it. I can feel it in my head. Like it's happening and it's getting there and it's getting, and then pretty soon you're like, oh, dude, this is getting bad. This is like, I'm going down. And then you end up like crashing out and you're like, oh God, this is so bad. The head hurts. I feel like I'm going to throw up. This is like absolutely insane. And then a few hours later, no, I don't feel any worse. I feel like crap. Yeah. No, I don't feel much better. And a few hours later goes by and it's just like, yeah, I think that's the worst. I think this is the worst of it right here. This is about as bad as it's getting. That's the way I feel right there. Right? That's the way I feel. All right. Thank you so much for that, man. Serious. What is it? Sariso? Sariso? And that is just so cool of you. Almost $300 in US. Just an incredible super chat, man. Thank you so much. I have had my avocado for 1.5 years and still have not received a single avocado. Okay. The money really pours in when all lighter takes a break. When all nighter? A deplorable, mine's growing. Oh, you guys are talking about avocado trees. Okay. All nighter. Okay. Have you heard of Goldback currency and would you stack them? Actually, that's pretty interesting that you bring it up. I have some sitting on my right now that I was looking at that a viewer had sent me. Sorry guys, I need to get a new PO box. My PO box got canceled on me, so I got to go get a new one. But I had fans like sending me stuff, and that was one of the things that they had sent me was some gold-backed currencies. Now, I think they're kind of cool. They're unique. They're a nice novelty piece. It's like, and those who don't know what a goldback is, it looks like a dollar bill, but it's made of gold. It's like almost like a piece of foil, right? But it's actually has gold. And so it's a pretty neat piece as far as like novelty purposes, but outside of like a, being like a coin, like I don't see the much difference between that and a coin, right? Like, I mean, it's just because it's all about the gold weight. And although you can break it down to this little fraction of a piece, like, 1/100th of a gram or an ounce of gold or whatever it is, hundredth of an ounce of gold, which would then break it down to just a few dollars a piece. That's pretty cool to have, like, as far as, hey, I got this like small little itty tiny piece of gold that we can transact with instead of having like this huge 1 ounce piece of gold to deal with. Inside of that uniqueness of it, that kind of is cool. I like that part of it. But again, outside of being like a coin, I don't know what kind of purpose it would serve outside of that. It still serves the same purpose as any other precious metal, physical precious metal would do. But it's cool. It's neat. I like that. uh, I just want their foreigners to make their homes great again. The problem with you people is they want to give away everything. All right. I had about 100 gold foil dollars, a whole book of them. My wife's kids stole them. I'm East Coast, but when I visit my daughter in California, the one thing I love is how fresh the produce and other foods are, especially in the farms now. Yeah, I agree. I have some NH Goldbacks. I gotta shave my head before I shower up. Be good. Bulldogs, right on. You joined the channel. You're really going to enjoy that. We've done quite a few live streams, member-only live streams just recently, breaking down some of the Federal Reserve speeches. One of them is that Waller speech. Really good stuff. We're going to do another one here from, who was it, Laura? Who just recently gave another speech? I'll probably do this one tomorrow. So if you guys haven't become a member of the channel, consider joining the channel. It's $1 a month, right? It's the cheapest membership you're ever going to find out there on the internet. We break down some of the difficult things that are coming out of the Federal Reserve in a way that the average everyday person is going to be able to understand. We have a conversation about it. Although, like the recent one from John Williams about all the stars and what they mean, holy crap, that speech was absolutely intense. And we got to go through that one again. But yeah, there was a recent one given by um, Lori Logan on monetary policy implementation. And so I thought it would be a good one to break down again on a members only live stream. So consider joining the channel so you can, get access to all those member only live streams that we do. And you won't be disappointed, I guarantee you. What's up, Brody? Thank you. They create dependence on their system. Yeah, I mean, I think that's really comes down to not understanding how their system truly operates. Even the idea, like, Trump is going to remove Powell and then we'll see the interest rate change. And I'm like, that doesn't have anything to do with the consensus statement, right? Powell is just one vote on the FOMC. He speaks on behalf of the FOMC. He doesn't make any real decisions on the entirety of the FOMC. So when it comes to removing Powell and replacing him with somebody else, doesn't change anything about the strategy, which is the consensus statement. That they're going to focus in on, and all of the FOMC is going to do their best to try and achieve what is the consensus statement, because that's the Federal Reserve's job. That's what they were established for. This is how they operate. Nothing is going to change about that. And so when I hear, like, oh man, if they remove and get rid of Laura or Lisa Cook or something like that, that's going to be like this huge, blow to the independence of the Federal Reserve. And I'm thinking to myself, no, this is not the first time this has happened, right? If you just go back and you look at, who was it, like, again, Kaplan and Rosengreen from 2020, right? Both of those people were accused of massive insider trading where they made like millions of dollars, and one of them was just like, yeah, I got caught, I'm out, boink, right? And he bailed. So it's just like Lisa Cook getting a better interest rate is really pretty small on the actual problems that have been faced by the Federal Reserve and their members doing devious, unethical things, right? So this isn't new. This is small. This is actually a small thing that Trump is trying to blow up, put everybody on his power pendulum that he's going to fire Lisa Cook. But even the cause within itself would mean that she couldn't have the position. So, all right. I have lived about 90% of my time debt-free. It is the way to go, I figure. Oh, absolutely it is. We got dishes up in the house? Right on. What are you guys talking about? Don't we have any better questions here? Okay, I'm not totally judging, though. To each their own. What do you think of Ray Dalio's long-term debt cycle? I don't trust Ray Dalio. I don't trust anything about what he has to say. I don't think he really is informing people. Like, this dude at one point had totally miscalled the Federal Reserve and what it is that they were doing. If any one of these big-time economists did not come out and tell you about the makeup strategy and how it was that the Federal Reserve was going to allow inflation to run extra hot, extra long for an extended period of time to make up for the fact that they failed to achieve the 2% target over the previous 10 years, and the problem that they were really facing was that they could have no more downward adjustment when they were at the effective lower bound, and that they started using their words and forward guidance in order to conduct monetary policy, and they are still deploying that same strategy today. If you are listening to any other economist who is telling you anything other than that, they are making stuff up and getting it wrong. That's all there is to it. And it's not me who is saying this, it's the Federal Reserve. And I keep trying to point it out that it's not me saying it, it's the Federal Reserve. And all these people keep looking at things that are not the Federal Reserve saying, well, this guy said the Fed screwed up. And I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't listen to somebody who says the Fed screwed up. I wouldn't listen to them. Their opinion is the Fed screwed up because of the position that they took. They took an inaccurate position, and now they have to make up excuses for it, and so they blame the Fed. I didn't think that the Fed screwed up, and the entire time I took a position that says inflation was going to run extra hot, extra long for an extended period of time to make up for the fact that they failed to achieve the 2% target using the makeup strategy. And I've been saying it so long that I ended up being the only one saying it until Jerome Powell came out and says, hey, we're no longer doing the makeup strategy because COVID made it irrelevant. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, you didn't need to use a makeup strategy because COVID did all the work for you. Nobody saw it this way. Literally nobody. Nobody. I got Time Magazine and USA Today saying the Federal Reserve doesn't see anything other than a 2% target. How come it is they see this 2% target? Why don't they see anything other than a 2% target? I'm saying they're not seeing a 2% target. They see it moderately above 2% for some time. Up until a week ago. A week and a few days. When they changed the consensus statement. I'm the only one. And I don't mean to brag it up that I'm the only one out there, but I was the only one who was so adamant about it that I wouldn't let it go and made sure that everybody knew that I wasn't going to let it go. And I said it over and over and over and over again until people finally left the channel saying, dude, you don't know what you're talking about. It's obviously the Federal Reserve lost control of inflation. And then boom, Powell comes out and says, no, we were really operating in a makeup strategy, allowing inflation to make up for the fact that we failed to achieve the 2% target over the years. Turned out that I was 100% right on that monetary policy, and everybody else, 99% of the people, were wrong. They were absolutely wrong. And again, I don't mean to sound arrogant or anything else on it, but I am going to own it because I never let it go. I said it so many times. Uneducated. Planning any cookouts this weekend? And happy Labor Day. Well, let's see. No, I don't think so. I don't have any like real plans with anybody. Freddie is still camping with his buddy, so he had like a 5-day camping trip that they went up to private property with a lake and streams and ATVs and all kinds of stuff going on. So they had a good blast, blast of a weekend doing that. But no, we're just kind of chilling out here. I don't know if we really plan on doing anything outside of going out to bingo tonight and maybe go. I don't know. No, I don't have any plans. Agreed with you for the most part about how wrong they were on monetary policy, inflation. Yeah. And here's the thing. I knew inflation was going to come down simply because of the lumber market. That's it. Like, I mean, I knew it wasn't going to happen for everything out there, but I knew the inflationary scenario was going to come down because just simply looking at the lumber industry, if it was dollar destruction, which I'm not saying hasn't happened, right? There's been some dollar destruction, definitely. But if it was dollar destruction that was doing it, that was creating the problems with inflation, then lumber would never have made it down to its normal price, the price that we had seen back in 2018. Like I said, at its peak, lumber is going to come back down to a normal price. Now, the only way that I would have been able to call that out is that I didn't believe the money printer. I believed that there was money printing. I didn't believe the money printer. The money printer go burr, prices go up was the wrong belief. Breaking down of the supply chain was the correct belief. The broken supply chain that remained broken continued to contribute to the inflation, but it was no longer broken in lumber. Boom, lumber came back to normal, right? Lumber is a well-established, well-functioning, could be completely domestic supply. When it came back, it snapped right back. It is a very well-established functioning machine if there is a demand for it. And when the demand had increased, the function worked perfectly and prices came right back down. So now when I understood that it was more of a supply chain breakdown than it was money printer that caused the inflation, it gave me a whole different understanding of monetary policy, how it is that I was going to position myself according to it, and everybody else, 99% of the people, believed that the Federal Reserve had lost control. Well, they didn't lose control in lumber. Is that the one thing that they didn't lose control over? Or was it something different happening? That it was more of a supply chain issue than it was the money printer that was causing it. Now, if you did look at it as being more of a supply chain issue and not the money printer, now you got a good understanding of why it is that quantitative easing 1, 2, 3, 4 failed to produce the inflationary scenario that the Federal Reserve was looking for after the great financial crisis. These things are very, very difficult for money printer go burr, prices go up, people to understand. They don't get it. They just don't get it. They don't understand that an expansion of $850 billion on the Fed's balance sheet to over $4.5 trillion failed to produce the inflationary scenario that the Federal Reserve was looking for. It failed them. Money printer failed them. And it was much more money printing on a percentage basis back then than had happened during COVID. They doubled the money supply. They doubled the balance sheet during COVID. They quadrupled it during the great financial crisis. Way, way more back then. Didn't work. Once you have this understanding, once you know this stuff, once you get it for yourself, the whole idea that the Federal Reserve was trying to push an inflationary scenario was the main goal. They needed it. They desperately needed it. In fact, John Williams, right, the guy that, is probably one of the hardest people to understand when it comes to his speeches, especially that damn all-star speech that we read the other day, is just absolutely incredible. John Williams had it all to say in just one simple phrase right here. Ironically, the problem we need to solve these days is the risk of inflation that is persistently too low rather than too high. And he was talking about monetary policy in 2018. This is coming from Monetary Policy Strategies for a Low Neutral Interest Rate World, given November of 2018. The entire thing reads like this. Today we face an altogether different set of problems stemming from a very low neutral interest rate. That is, the short-term real interest rate consistent with an economy operating at its potential alongside low and stable inflation. Ironically, the problem we need to solve these days is the risk of inflation that is persistently too low rather than too high. So now let me ask you, John Williams, do you have an inflation that is persistently too high now? That was the problem you needed to solve, right? So now here you have it. Problem solved. They knew it was going to cause pain and misery to the people. They knew it. They said it back in 2020 before it happened. Powell said it straight up. He told the people, you're going to suffer pain and misery. Get ready for it, right? Let me find it right here. Hold on, whoops. This is Powell's speech, August 27th of 2020. Right? Says, this decline in assessments of the neutral federal funds rate has a profound implication for monetary policy. With interest rates generally running close to their effective lower bound, even in good times, the Fed has less scope to support the economy during economic downturns by simply cutting the Fed funds rate. The result can be worse economic outcomes in terms of both employment and price stability, with the cost of such outcomes likely falling on the hardest on the least who are able to bear it. So they said, hey man, everybody is going to suffer. Like all these people who can't afford it are going to suffer big time, right? And then he goes, they're going to suffer because of this lower bound, because of this, this decline in the neutral Fed funds rate and the neutral interest rate on the Fed funds. This decline, it's going to be really, really, really bad on the people, right? So we got to get this inflationary scenario to save the monetary policy. So we'll actually have monetary policy to adjust during bad times, That's the problem for the Federal Reserve, is that they were operating at the effective lower bound of zero. No more downward adjustment of interest rates. I mean, he says it straight up. With interest rates generally running close to their effective lower bound, even in good times, the Fed has less scope to support the economy during economic downturn by simply cutting the Fed funds rate, because they were at the lower bound. No more downward adjustment. So he said they definitely need inflation to raise that neutral interest rate. I mean, John Williams said it a couple of years earlier, even like a year and a month earlier or a half earlier, said that the problem they needed to solve was an inflation that was persistently too low instead of too high. So they were looking for too high inflation. The persistent undershoot of inflation from the 2% long-run objective is a cause for concern. Many find it counterintuitive that the Fed would want to push up inflation. Hell, some of them found it even impossible, like me. I mean, John Williams was begging for it after quantitative easing 1, 2, 3, and 4 failed. They were like, man, why would the Fed want to push up inflation? How the hell are you even going to do it? I mean, if a quadrupling of the balance sheet couldn't do it, what is it you plan on doing? After all, low and stable inflation is essential for a well-functioning economy, and we're certainly mindful that higher prices for essential items such as food, gasoline, and shelter add to the burdens faced by many families, especially those struggling with lost jobs and incomes. Wait a minute. So higher inflation is going to be a burden for those who are going to be hit hardest, the people at the end of the line, and you have no way supporting them? I mean, this is all admitted in one speech. He said, if we don't have any downward adjustment in monetary policy, the people at the end of the line are going to suffer the most because we're not going to be able to support them. And if we don't go through the efforts of raising inflation, we're going to lose the monetary policy altogether. And by raising the inflation expectation, the people at the end of the line are going to suffer the most. You had no other expectation other than suffering and pain. I tried to explain that to people years ago. The Fed wants you to suffer in pain and misery. I said it so many times. But people didn't get it. They were thinking, oh man, you're just one of these lunatics out there who are trying to be a conspiracy theorist. And I'm like, I'm not. They're telling you straight up they're doing it. In the speech, he said it. They have no room to help you anymore. And the ability to get the room back is going to cause pain and misery to you. You have no other choice but to suffer in pain and misery. And then people get the pain and misery. And then they think, oh man, the Fed screwed up. They didn't. They did it on purpose. Right? They did it on purpose so that they could have this exact position today, which is elevated neutral interest rate, elevated Fed funds rate. Now they got the ability to actually adjust interest rates to stimulate the economy, and using forward guidance is the most profound tool, which is them actually jawboning about what it is they plan on doing with monetary policy, so they don't actually have to do anything at all. And so many people have this, they have it so backwards and confused, because even the idea behind it, like the strategy that is used and deployed, is very confusing within itself. Once you recognize it, it's not that bad. It's like, oh, okay, I get it, right? It's not that hard to understand. But if you have already formed a belief system around how it is that the Federal Reserve is conducting itself, or even worse, Donald Trump is influencing the Fed, right? There's no way in the world that you can see it. Never in a million years will you ever be able to see it. Alrighty, guys, I'm going to have to call it quits here in just a minute. My phone is down to like 10%. I didn't bring a battery out with me. All right, it's called Gospel of Jesus Christ. Money issuance in general is not a great thing, but could you imagine how much worse it would be if Congress could vote to create money to appease their constituents? Oh, it would be terrible. Congress would screw it up fast. Like, the independence of the Federal Reserve is not something that I am like, oh man, this is a wonderful thing. Oh, great. But I think it's better than having Congress do it, because Congress is screw it up big time. They will not be making appropriate decisions. They will not be making good, hard decisions based on real economic strategies. They will literally be, bowing down to the votes, to whoever it is who's going to vote them in. Because you can see that's how they played it. I mean, think about like how horrible politics are today. Can you imagine if you incorporated monetary policy into it as well? it would be at that point that I would go all in on gold and silver. Like, I would go all in on I would be out of cash. Absolutely. If Congress, if the government took control, if Trump was somehow able to take control of the central banking system, which I think is just absolutely comical, hilarious. I mean, that's not going to happen. Not even in a yeah, not even in his delusional mind could that ever be actual, reality. I mean, I think he's just playing that up. But if that was to happen and the government took control, I would definitely jump out. Like I wouldn't even try at that time because I have no trust for the government whatsoever. They literally do no, they like I mean about it. They were elected, put into office to protect the people's constitutional way. And they literally stomp on it, right? Every single president has stomped on the Constitution and literally given you the finger when it comes to your constitutional way of life. Every single president that I can think of for the last 100+ years, right, has continued to operate using the central banking system. It is absolutely unconstitutional, right? So, in that sense, I don't believe that they do anything that is going to benefit me or act in any way that is going to actually support that of what I feel is independence and freedom and constitutional way. They just don't do it like that. Like they do not concern themselves with that at all. And since that's the case, I don't have any trust or belief for them. Like I can't vote for somebody who's just like, okay, man, so let me ask you some things. Can you go ahead and spit out the Bill of Rights to me so that I understand that you do truly understand what it is that my rights are? So I don't think that you're going to start infringing on them just from your simple understanding, subconscious belief systems and everything that goes along with it. Can you please spit out the Bill of Rights to me? And very, very few people can actually do this. So I know they're not voting for people I know they're not voting for people who have that sort of belief. Like if that was the core of your thoughts, then you would vote for people who had that core. Right? Some of us do. Most of us don't. And it's evident through the officials today. And I'm looking at them going, does anybody vote constitutionally anymore? Probably not, because they don't understand themselves. You know? I mean, they might understand the gist of it, right? But again, like to internalize it for yourself, to look at it in a different fashion, to say, man, no, I don't allow people to tell me what my rights are. I tell other people what my rights are. Like straight up. I don't like, there's no way somebody says, well, let me tell you what your right, what you can and cannot do with your rights. And I'm like, no, that's not the way this works. That is not the way this works at all. Authority doesn't tell me what my rights are. I tell authority what my rights are. People who don't do it that way don't have rights. All right. Our rights come from God. By the way, for anyone that has been on here regularly, I was previously on here as Jeff Welch, but I broke my iPad, and this is the YouTube account that was on my phone. All right. Well, good to have you back. All right. Why does anybody vote, period? Politicians are put into power by the most powerful business in their districts, so that's their interest priority. I can really believe. My rights are things I will fight you over. Like, I don't even know a position in which that I would have to fight for my right. Like, I really don't, you know? Like, people are like, well, what about a police encounter and stuff? I don't have those kind of encounters. I don't conduct myself in a way that I would even create a situation in which that encounter would occur. Right? Like that's how I conduct myself, is that I conduct myself in a way in which that encounter wouldn't occur. I don't do it like that, you know? And so what I find very interesting about it is that, you can walk through this life absolutely living your 100% constitutional rights and freedoms the entire time, never once have them infringed upon, ever, by anybody, okay? Simply by the way that you conduct yourself. Because if most people just behave, they wouldn't have a problem. You know, that's all there is to it. You know, just behave, then they wouldn't have a problem. And they wouldn't have to try and, you know, protect their rights or anything else, you know. And that, and guess what? You know, that's me. I just behave. Like, I don't cross the street unless the sign says it's time to go. Because I don't want somebody saying, hey, man, you just broke the law. I need you to identify yourself. No, not me, right? I didn't do any of that. I don't conduct myself in that fashion. And if somebody says, hey, man, I just see that you're kind of being suspicious here on the street. I can't really explain why, but I want to identify you. And I'd be like, I don't think so. You know, unless you can articulate a crime that I've committed, committing, or about to commit, I'm on my way, because this is not a consensual conversation. And if you want to ask me any more questions, I would like some counsel. And that's it. I'm done speaking. I do not answer any more questions. And that's it. Guys, I gotta go. This was so much fun. Thank you so much, for the incredible super chats and the support, and Justin as well. Thank you guys, everybody, for being here. We got 148 people watching right now with 121 likes. My phone is about ready to die, so I gotta go. But I appreciate everybody being here. Thank you so much for everything that you have ever done for the channel. And thank you for listening. Thank you for breaking this stuff down with me. And thank you for internalizing it so that you can make the best and most appropriate decisions for yourself, and then counting on yourself to do those good and appropriate decisions that make this world a better place. Like, if we did this for ourselves and we did it consistently, and the majority of the people did it, I think that honestly, we would clean up the government, we would clean up the banking system, we would clean up our environment, and we can conduct ourselves in a way that we don't have to have authority actually ruling over us. Uneducated economist, you guys let me.